Aprendimos a quererte desde la histórica altura, donde el sol de tu bravura le puso cerco a la muerte. Aquí se queda la clara, la entrañable transparencia de tu querida presencia, comandante Che Guevara. Tu mano gloriosa y fuerte sobre la historia dispara, cuando todo Santa Clara se despierta para verte. Aquí se queda la clara, la entrañable transparencia, tu querida presencia, comandante Che Guevara. Vienes quemando la brisa con soles de primavera para plantar la bandera con la luz de tu sonrisa. Aquí se queda la clara, la entrañable transparencia de tu querida presencia, comandante Che Guevara. Tu amor revolucionario te conduce a nueva empresa, donde esperan la firmeza de tu brazo libertario. Aquí se queda la clara, la entrañable transparencia de tu querida presencia, comandante Che Guevara. Seguiremos adelante, como junto aquí seguimos.
So I'm just so pleased to introduce Pierre Labassiere as our first speaker on Haiti. We're so privileged to have Pierre as an EPI board member. Pierre is also co-founder of the Haiti Action Committee and the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund, established in the Bay Area in 1991 and 2004, respectively. Working with Haiti's grassroots movement that is engaged in the struggle for justice and democracy, Haiti Action Committee and Haiti Emergency Relief Fund provide information regarding conditions on the ground, assist refugees, and support community-based initiatives and institutions working for the liberation and the rebuilding of Haiti. Welcome, Pierre.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Thank you, API, for inviting me. And thank you so much, everyone. So great to be with you, with each and every one of you. What a song to kick off this gathering. It's a very beautiful song. Just wanted to say how glad I am that Janet told the story of EPI, because today EPI is needed. Ecumenical Peace Institute, Clergy and Laity Concern is needed now more so than ever before. And so this is the time to call to all people of faith, the faith communities, people of conscience, to rally around the world to put a stop to this new rise of fascism and this increasing attacks that are taking place all over the world against the majority populations in different parts of the world, of which Haiti is a part of. We don't hear much about the various countries that we are going to talk about. I will be focusing on Haiti, of course, because I'm from there and I know more about what's going on there. But what I'm saying is pretty much shared. That's the shared experiences of many countries which are not represented here today, but which are in the region and in different parts of the world. And so right now in Haiti, what we are facing on the ground is a continuing war against the poor. It's a war against the majority population that Dr. King was talking about, particularly at the Riverside Church, and what the people of Vietnam were resisting against, which was a system that was imposing misery, the plunder of their resources, misery on the population. When we are all called to live a life full of dignity, freedom from hunger, freedom from being homeless, freedom from somebody exploiting us and starving us to death. And this is what it's all about. Today in Haiti, we don't hear much about it, but this is the struggle that has been going on since the invasion of the Americas by Christopher Columbus in 1492. As our people, as the native people, the Tainos and the Arawaks had rebelled and resisted the domination of the Spaniards and the conquest, we find ourselves today in similar, continuing this struggle on the ground in Haiti. My foremothers and forefathers are from the land of Africa, where they were kidnapped and brought into slavery to work the sugarcane plantations in the Americas, particularly in Haiti. And so after joining forces with the native Arawaks and the Tainos and creating the first free territory on the island, then later on, still slavery continued, the exploitation of people continued, the genocidal war continued against the majority population. And in 1791, the African men, women, and children who were in chains rose up and after a 13-year war of liberation, freed themselves from the shackles of slavery. However, the combined forces of the powerful empires at the time that were growing fat on the misery of the people, on enslaving other human beings, they were very persistent. And they have to this day continued the war on people throughout various regions of the world, including Haiti. And so what it will take is for us to understand what's going on, first to educate ourselves as to the true nature of the struggle. Generally, Haiti is presented as if it's a basket case or nothing can get done there, but it's a ruse, it's a trick. It's to make people outside of Haiti and in different parts of the world, and even inside Haiti, feels as if they are powerless. But people have realized that when they come together, when they know the truth, when they know the facts, and they come together, they are able to overturn the system of exploitation, as has happened in Cuba, as is happening in Venezuela, as has happened in Vietnam, as happened in different parts of the world. And as the people of the Americas, including, we just saw the victory of the party of Evo Morales in Bolivia. And so this is what's going on. So in Haiti right now, one of the things I want to get right into is the state terrorism there are ongoing massacres of the population of Haiti, of many neighborhoods taking place, such as the La Saline massacre. And these massacres, La Saline is a neighborhood in downtown Port-au-Prince, right in the heart of downtown Port-au-Prince, near the harbor. And so there have been continued attacks by so-called gangs. The press refers to them as gangs, but they are not gangs. They are the old-fashioned death squads that many of us are familiar in Central America, in South Africa. And when people are rebelling, the police works very closely with those death squads and to exterminate people who rise up and to assassinate people, burn their houses. The La Saline massacre took place. Members of the police and armed so-called gangs, but these were the death squads with sophisticated weaponry, working together with the police, invaded the neighborhood of La Saline. And it's been estimated that over 200 people were killed. 77 people were actually found, bodies were actually found and accounted for. But there are many others who were killed and just disappeared. And so this whole situation has been continuing to the present. Various neighborhoods, such as Tokyo, that's another working class neighborhood in Port-au-Prince, has been attacked. We've had the neighborhoods of Bel Air, of Cité Vincent, and quite a few of them. All of those are working class neighborhoods. And why are they targeted? It's because people, they're just like our ancestors, have refused to accept the conditions of misery and the conditions of abject poverty, the conditions of exploitation that are being forced upon them. People are saying, we are all children of God. And if we are, God didn't create us on this earth to suffer, to live a life of indignity, to live a life of misery, so that our children cannot go to school. When we are sick, we can't have access to health care. We don't have enough food to eat. Yet we are paying taxes. We don't have clean water. Yes, and yet we are paying taxes, much more taxes than the people who are filthy rich, than the little minority in the country. Haiti was built on the back of the working classes who've been taxed so much, whereas the majority, the little elite population, that's only the proverbial 1%, if that much, they get away with not paying taxes, and yet they benefit from all of the fruits of the labor of that population. So the tax money of the population goes to finance the few schools in the country that exist in rich neighborhoods, in wealthy neighborhoods, and cater to the wealthy. And that situation has been going on since Haiti became an independent nation. After a few decades of independence, Haiti reverted back. There was a lot of pressure from those empires to put Haiti back into a situation of colonial relationship with the former colonizer countries, in this case, France, and also some of the others, such as England and other countries in Europe. By 1915, the US invaded Haiti, and Haitian peasants started resisting, because the invasion was about taking over their land to impose another system of big plantation to exploit their labor. And so the peasantry fought. Over 20,000 people died in Haiti. And many times when I hear people talk about the refugee crisis, well, the refugee crisis started around that time with the attack against the Haitian peasants, the stealing of their lands, chasing them out of their lands. And that's when the majority of many Haitians started fleeing in massive numbers to Cuba and to the Dominican Republic, where they were quickly put to work and being exploited in sugarcane plantations. It wasn't until the revolution took place in Cuba that the Haitians were given the respect that they deserve as human beings, and the work of cutting sugarcane was elevated by the revolutionary Cuban government, and Fidel and Che and all the comrades there was elevated to a position of honesty, of honest work, and something not to be ashamed of. And the children of the cane cutters were able to access education. So with that, this has been the ongoing situation. And the reason I bring this up, it's because many times people are looking at the refugee situation and not addressing the root causes of what's going on with the refugee situation. Well, it starts in these wars. It starts in militarism. It starts in the greed of a little group trying to exploit the labor of people. They find other ways to impose slavery on people who have fought for their freedom and who have been freed, and manage to find other ways to super exploit people. And so people have to flee those conditions. Brothers and sisters in Haiti stand up for their rights all the time. They stood up against the dictatorship of Duvalier. They stood up demanding better wages, livable wages. But what happened? The state, terrorism, went after them. The Duvalier, both father and son, killed over 50,000 Haitians. All of this with the help of with the full support and financing of the US. The US provided them with, provided the Duvaliers with a military mission that trained the Tonton Macoutes. And today we are saying the Tonton Macoutes, for many people who don't know or who may not remember, these were the infamous deadly death squads of the Duvaliers. They were uniformed and they went around. They had the power of life and death over anyone. And today that's what we are saying. So when the people of Haiti, under President Aristide, when the mass movement kicked out the Duvaliers and restored democracy in Haiti by electing for the first time in 1991 President priest, liberation theologian, Father Jean-Bertrand Aristide, and elected him as president, the US quickly organized a coup d'etat to remove the government after 7 months in office. Over 5,000 people were killed in that coup. And President Aristide came back from exile 3 years later, and then people again voted him into office, massively, overwhelmingly. And 3 years after, 3 years into his 5-year term of office, in 2004, President Aristide, again, the US staged a coup d'etat to remove him. 10,000 people died in that coup. And to this day, the coup continues. 16, 17 years later, the coup d'etat is continuing and people are continuing to resist. Right now, Haiti is under an occupation by the United Nations. The United Nations has no troops of its own. Those troops are troops borrowed from other countries, and they are imposing the coup d'etat, continuing to maintain that miserable coup d'etat against the people of Haiti. During those close to 17 years of UN occupation, the conditions of the majority populations have worsened. What they call insecurity in Haiti, which is government-sponsored terrorism, state terrorism, has made so many people, has destroyed the lives of so many families, and people are being killed. I mentioned their homes are being burned, all kinds of atrocities. People are being burned. Situation akin to what was going on during the Tonton Macoutes, and also during the days of the FRAP, the worst days of what was going on in Haiti. Now, having said that, I have to tell you that the people's resistance is continuing very strongly, and people in Haiti still, they are managing to build institutions to keep those institutions going. There is a new Haiti being built amidst all of what's going on, amidst this terror campaign. And this is the Haiti that's thanks to you and to your solidarity that it's breathing a life into it. Only together, only in solidarity, only if all of us, people of faith, just as Dr. King made that appeal, I'm repeating this appeal to you. And the Ecumenical Peace Institute, I'm so glad of your presence to to spread the word among our brothers and sisters in various faith communities so that together we can unite and put a stop to this greed, this militarism, the imperialism that is suffocating people all over the world. We need to put a stop to this. So I'll stop right there. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Pierre.